Good afternoon, everybody. I thought today we will have the full quorum of students. So, hope you are staying safe at home. In case if you are not staying in hostel and you're not staying with your family, in case if you're staying in hostel and if you are staying away from your family members, then please fill in the Google form which I have forwarded already yesterday. Is that clear? I repeat again. In case if you are staying in hostel, in case if you are staying away from your family, then please fill in the form whichever I have sent yesterday. Is that clear? Okay, so we just want to know how many of you are away from your family, so that we can have a health screening regularly in case if you are staying away from your family or from your house. Is that clear? Okay. So any doubt in yesterday's class? Have you all started to prepare the tutorials? Okay, so today we will see the new topic uh, about organizing a rehabilitation unit. So since you are in final year, it will be very useful topic. So how to set up a rehabilitation unit um, according to the government rule and according to the rehabilitation principles. So in this class, we will be seeing what are the types of rehabilitation and what are the criteria to design a rehabilitation department and what are the needed essential documents for that and how to run a rehabilitation center. But this rehabilitation center, like, we are not going to see all the other team. We are going to see in the point of physiotherapist. So, like, as we know, the rehabilitation means like it will be done in different setup, and it will be done for a very long time. So every every country will have their own rehabilitation setup. Some country will be able to strictly monitor the health rehabilitation. Some countries maybe like because of the other issues and underdeveloped other since it is underdeveloped, they will not be able to give importance to this rehabilitation service. So first, like, if you see, the initial or acute rehabilitation will always be in a hospital. So whenever a patient is having any problem, in an acute problem, they will be coming to the hospital, and in a medical hospital, they will be undergoing the treatment. So that is in the acute stage. So that is called as medical rehabilitation. So after this medical rehabilitation, they will be followed by the physiotherapist, or after we get the referral for the physiotherapy or any other treatment, the other team members will be taking over. Then afterwards, after some time, this particular person will be getting discharged from the hospital, and and he will be getting ready to go into the community. So in between the community and the discharge pattern, you have something called like a merging of community and the medical rehabilitation. So it for that, you most of the countries will have a private setup, like rehabilitation centers. So from the acute care or from the medical hospital, they will be sent to a rehabilitation center where they will be doing a lot of rehabilitation services, and they will train the people according to their community setup and send them home. Then at last, the community will be taking care, that is your community rehabilitation, where your primary health centers or home care rehabilitation, all of them will play a role. So they will come to the particular person's house, and then they will be giving the rehabilitation. Okay, so this is a brief introduction about the rehabilitation. So this rehabilitation, as we know, we are giving in three different types. One is institutional based rehabilitation, home based rehabilitation, then community based rehabilitation. So institutional based rehabilitation is done in the hospital setup, and it will be including your acute care as well as the rehabilitation that is done in the hospital. So here it will be run by set of people according to the policies and the directions. So they will be having a lot of standards, and according to that they will be treating the patient. So when they are coming in this role, like the when they are coming to the this particular setup, so initially the physical care will be taken care, then the psychological, then the complete care will be given. So that is the overall both physical, mental, and the occupational related care will be given in the institutional based rehabilitation. Then in the home-based rehabilitation, nowadays this home-based rehabilitation is increasing because when the people are coming from the rehabilitation center, they may not be able to manage the day-to-day life activity, or when the people are very old and they are nobody there to take care of the particular person, then they will not be able to live alone, even though if they have getting full training, and even though if they are not, they are trained to fulfill their ADL activities, but still they need some support. So there only this home based rehabilitation will be playing a major role. So nowadays in the nowadays if you see, there are a lot of this home based rehabilitation center where you will be able to leave the patient for one day or for multiple days or multiple months. So that is your home based rehabilitation. Then last is your community based rehabilitation. So this community based rehabilitation is controlled by the government or any other bigger setup. So they will be controlling the whole this community based rehabilitation. So the main function of the for this community based rehabilitation people is, so they will divide the community. For example, if you are taking a particular district, that district will be divided into small area, and each area will be controlled by certain primary health center or certain group of people. So their workers, they have to visit the particular person regularly, and they have to check their status regularly, and they have to update. In case if they need, then it will be like, then they will be immediately taken to a home based center, or immediately they will be taken to a institutional based rehabilitation center. So this is about CBR. So now, this CBR was introduced in 1978 by the effort of WHO. So they only realized the need of the CBR because people who are having disabilities and will not be able to manage alone at home, and the family also will not be able to, even if we give training to the caregivers or to the family, sometimes they may not be able to take care of this particular disabled person properly. Okay. So nowadays, in this pandemic situation, now we know what is the importance of community based rehabilitation. Okay. So mainly basically nobody will be aware of this CBR, but this COVID has brought out the community-based rehabilitation to the limelight. So Malaysia has a very good setup of community-based rehabilitation. Uh, that means nowadays you would have seen the people will be coming to the particular area. They will be checking them regularly for any symptoms of COVID, or they will be taking their temperature. And in case if they need anything immediately, they will be referring to KKM, and the KKM people will come and take care of, will do the test, and they will be taking the particular person to a isolation center or a hospital. So this is the thing which is going on now. But this community based is not only during the pandemic, but throughout the time this community based rehabilitation people will be working, but we will not be aware much of them. But in well-developed countries like European countries like UK and US, if you see, the community-based rehabilitation will be well set up and well maintained. Our countries will have little bit lesser compared to them. So, and these people should have the data like how many elderly people are there in their locality, how many of them are above 60, and what is their problem. All those things and all the particular data will be there in this community-based center. So, if they take shimling, the complete shimling details will be they will be having in their data. So they will know how many people are above 60, how many people are above 70, and what are the ailments they are having, like how many people are diabetes. All those details should be there in the community-based center. In case if it is well developed one. Okay, so this is the matrix of CBR. So why we are giving more importance of CBR is like nowadays CBR is only overtaking the whole world or taking care of the whole world. So this CBR will be having five major role. One is health, education, then livelihood, then social, and the empowerment. So they will be taking care of the health of the particular people who are there in the particular setup, then education, then livelihood, then the social and empowerment. So education in sense, like it is not a health in sense, it is not only physical, it is also mental and the social well-being. So everything they will be taking care, and they will also provide the needed assistive devices in case if they need any. So education, if you see, it is not only the school or early education, it also covers the informal education, like creating awareness towards a disease, creating awareness towards a particular problem, or changing their lifestyle. All those will be included in this education. So livelihood means like they have to take care of the people, what is their, whether they according to their education, whether they are getting job, whether because of the disability, if they lose the job, these people will be helping them to get a new job. All those things will be taken care. Then social, regarding the extracurricular things. Then empowerment, in case from the government, if they want to get anything. So from if the government is announcing any special funds for them, so they will be channelizing to this particular people, or they will be giving information to this people, and they will be connecting these people and the government setup or anything. Exactly. So this is the complete work of the CBR people. Now we had a rough ideas what are the types of rehabilitation and overview of the rehabilitation. So now we will go into our rehabilitation unit. So this rehabilitation unit, in sense like I have just prepared in such a way that it is more towards the physiotherapy part. Okay, so I have not uh, I have not included all other team members here. So it's more towards physiotherapy. So basically, we need to follow certain guidelines whenever we are starting this rehabilitation center. So initially, it will be like institutional-based rehabilitation, and ours are mainly towards institutional-based rehabilitation. Then we also have a part in the community-based rehabilitation. But when you talk about rehabilitation center, it will be institutional-based rehabilitation. So this is a separate unit that has to be taken care. So rehabilitation means, so covering the complete issue. So it is not only a simple or single one. It has to cover the entire thing. Okay. So in this, if you see, it will be including it will be including the medical, it will be including the surgical part, it will be including the orthopedic, it will be including the occupational, it will be including, so everything will be included in this rehabilitation care. So even though if we are talking more about physiotherapy, we also have to know like when to give the referral to the other team members, and how they will be coming and seeing this particular patient. So overall, if you see, you need to have a well developed center to start a rehabilitation unit. So it is not a smaller physiotherapy department, it is a uh, little bigger one where you need to have all the necessary or all the needed things. And the main thing is you need to at least have, like, you need to decide how big you are going to set up, how many beds you are going to include, and how big you are going to set up, and how big is your area you are going to set up. So basically, you need to have one rehabilitation professional for 20 beds. So according to that, you have to employ the workers also. Then, when you come to the physiotherapy area, it will be including a individual therapy, and it has to include the group therapy also. So for that, you have to have separate area where you are going to set up. Then once you once you have the setup, you need to have a area for the caregivers or family members where they will be coming and observing the things, and they will be learning the things. Then this one, uh, you need to have a setup, like different setup. That means, like, if you are having a walking training or gait training, then according to that you have to have specific area, because you're not only going to give them gait training in walkers or in crutches, but also with a wheelchair. So according to that, the space have to be little larger. So everything you have to look in a very broader way. So one particular training session, if you take, like for example, if you're taking mat activity, so this mat activity, in case if you mat activities, if you take, you will be giving them individual mat training and group mat training. So that means, like, how many people you will be adding in that particular room. So for that, how many mats you need. So like that, you have to have a very broader plan, then only you will be able to give the particular things. So you have to plan where, what are the equipments you are going to bring, and whether you are going to do an individual one or whether you are going to have a group one also. So according to that, the area you have to decide. Then for other peoples, like when you are taking rehabilitation, the other consultants also will come and meet the patient. So for them also, you need to have separate areas or separate rooms for consultation. So for speech therapy, for psychological counseling, or any other appropriate one, you have to set up. Then you have to have some meeting rooms suitable for conferences or family meetings and other things, so that you can explain whatever you want to the family members in a proper manner. Then depends on, like, if you want to have a hydrotherapy, then you have to set up a separate hydrotherapy pool, or at least, like, you need to you should be able to demonstrate the one through videos or another thing. But if you are planning for a hydrotherapy pool, then you need to go in detail of what are the safety measures you want to take, how much, like, how you want to maintain the pool, how you want to maintain the pool hygiene, how you want to set up the bathing. You need to set up the bathing area nearby, you need to set up the dressing area nearby, like that. So along with the hydrotherapy pool, you have other things which you have to take care properly, and you have to arrange according to that. Yeah. So these are the guidelines given from the government or from the uh, authorities. So whenever they are visiting your center, they will be checking for all these things. Then only they will give approval, or they will give permission for running the rehabilitation center. So now we will come to more specified one. So when we come to a physiotherapy department, so first thing, you have to see what are the you have to plan for the things which you are going to add in that. So first thing is regarding the infrastructure and the resources. So again, this infrastructure depends on how big you are going to set up, for how many people you are going to set up. If you are like if you are building for 10 people or 100 people, or like that. So depending on the number of people you are going to include or expect, according to that your infrastructure and the resources have to be broadened. So for 10 people means at least like minimum you should be able to accommodate 25 to 30 people. Then only they will be able to have that particular infrastructure. So if you are thinking of 100, then you have to plan nearly for 200 or 300 people. Then only you will get that particular infrastructure. Then resources. So all these topics we will be seeing in detail. So these are the 5 things we are supposed to plan. One is about the infrastructure and the resources, then about the equipments, then human resources, then the utilities, then funding and your budget, then specialty clinics, then legal services. So these are the 5 parts you have to plan and you have to design. So the first about the infrastructure or the physical structure, if you see, first thing is you have to check for the location. So the location should be like in such a way that the people should be able to visit you properly. Or like the people should be able to locate you properly, and they should be able to come to your setup. So in case if you are keeping the location in a very remote area, then you will not be able to expect those people. So according to the area you are setting up, or according to your need, you have to look for a good place where the people will be able to reach you immediately. That is one thing. Then whenever you are setting up a rehabilitation center, you have to think that most of the people who are going to visit you is a disabled person. So according to them you have to have the parking area, and according to them you have to have the wheelchair access and other access. So that one you have to check. So if the area is very small, then you cannot have a rehabilitation center. So the area should be little bit bigger so that you can arrange for all these access. So railings, ramps, then whether the ambulance can reach inside, whether the car can park inside, like all those things you have to see. So first is the visibility of the location, whether they are able to identify. Then second is all these specification. Then third is you have to look for the flooring. So when you say rehabilitation, definitely you are going to treat older person, or like very or people who are having lot of physical problem. So for them you have to go for anti skid flooring, and maybe you can go for any wooden flooring or anything, because you can't go for tiles and other thing where the people will be uh, will may the people may fall down. So you need to be careful about that. You can't go with a carpet, because sometimes when the people are walking with crutches or walking aids, so it may hinder them, or the wheelchair access will be affected. So you have to go with a very anti skid flooring or insulated flooring. So most of the time we go with a wooden one, so that it is not getting affected with the cold or hot. And another thing is it will not even if the people who are having sensory loss also will be able to walk over that particular surface. So that is very important. Then you need to have a automatic opening door at the entrance, because when they come in the if people who are in wheelchair, if they are coming alone, then they may not be able to open the door and hold it. Okay, and even if the people are coming in the wheelchair are coming with any assistance, so the assistants need to push the wheelchair. Okay, so that's why you always go for a automatic entrance, so that the door opens automatically. Then the accessibility of to the location should be very convenient, both for indoors and the outdoors. Some people will maybe like will come and drop their parents for 1 day or 2 days. So that means like their access should be easy. So you need to check for that the parking facility. You can't build a rehabilitation center at 12th floor or 10th floor. And in case if they even if though if you have lifts and other thing, then you have to be very careful that throughout 24 hours you are having the lift facilities. In case suddenly if the lift has some problems or anything, then the accessibility will be very difficult. So you need to have a rehabilitation center at the ground level. Then the area may vary with the expected patient load. Then you have to go for look for the licensing from the local council. So when you go for a licensing of the local council, they will be giving a criteria. So these are the things. So this particular area means you cannot have more than one floor. You cannot have more than two floors like that. And if you have two floors, then the lift should be there, and the lift should be broader enough that a wheelchair or a bed will be the bed will be able to enter inside. So all these things, you cannot have a very small lift, and you cannot say that they have you have lift. So people with wheelchair as well as people in structure also should be accommodating in the lift. So all these things will be checked by the local council or local board. After checking all these things only, they will be giving you the license. Then you need to get a letter of no objection from the Malaysian Physiotherapy Association. Maybe it is not regularized now, but soon it will be regularized. So you definitely need to get a letter from them. So that is about the outer one. Then we will come to the infrastructures that is inside the clinic. So inside the clinic means like at least minimum you need to have two consultation rooms, and the consultation rooms should be little bit broader enough so that you will be able to make the person to lie down and assess the person. Okay, so that means you should have a consultation room with table, chair, along with that a small cot. So if you need it, you can evaluate the patient in that particular consultation room. So minimum you need two consultation room. Then therapeutic area should be covering all both exercise, exercise and electro. Okay, so therapeutic area means it should cover both your exercise and the electro. So first is in the exercise, if you see there are they there you will be needing a gymnasium. So the gymnasium should be of this much space. Again, this depends on how many people you are expecting. So it should have a space where you can make the person to sit down or lie in the floor and do make them to do the exercises. So you can put the physio balls and you can give them exercises in the physio ball. So the space should be a bigger one or wider one, and it should be free. Then apart from that, in the gymnasium you will be having a parallel bar with mirror, treadmill, bicycle ergometer, or multiple gym equipments. Then pediatric work area, there is for kids you need to have a separate work area. Then you need to have separate area for balance training, then biofeedback equipment, then weight balls, fist ball, tilt wet, sensory training kids, and all those things, mats, couches, and trampolines. So this rehabilitation, as I said, it is not like your outpatient physiotherapy clinic. It will be a little more broader, where you will be expecting all kind of people. So the equipment also should cover the entire thing. You cannot just have only one equipment and start the clinic. You have to have all the equipment. So you cannot say that I only treat elderly people, I cannot treat a pediatric people, or I only treat a pediatric people, I can't treat the elderly people. Like that, you will not be able to specify when you are going into a rehabilitation center. If you are a physiotherapy center, then you can specify. Okay, so the gymnasium area should be a bigger one, and it should have a lot of space to accommodate all the equipments whichever we are able to give. Then in the gymnasium itself, you need to have some cubicles, so that in case if the patient if the patient needs to, we need to give any therapy, manual therapy for the patient, then you have to take them to the cubicle. So maybe one or two cubicle you can have approximately. In case if it is a medical cubicle, then it should be of this particular size. That is it should be around 9 into 6 feet square feet. So this 9 into 6 square feet is a space of the cubicle. Inside that cubicle, you need to have a couch, which is maybe height adjustable. Then you should have a chair. So these are the two things you will be needing into that cubicle. So if you have the 9 into 6, then only you will be able to accommodate this two. Okay, so for manual therapy, you need the cubicles. Then comes the electrotherapy. So, and when you say about electrotherapy, you need to have different cubicles, at least three or four, 2 to 3 cubicles you need of same size, 9 to 6 feet. So why you need 2 or 3 cubicles means some of the equipments you will not be able to mingle with other. That is one thing. Another thing is some of the equipment cannot be moved in and out. So, for example, a traction unit. So you cannot be keep on moving the traction unit here and there. So if you fix the traction unit, that cubicle will be set for traction unit only. So that's why you need to have 2 or 3 cubicles so that you can fix the equipments properly. And some equipments you will be able to move here and there. So those equipments you will be able to move it. So cubicles again depends on, you may have some more cubicles also, but whatever I'm talking is a minimum amount. So the equipments most of the time you have to have hot pack or like wax like hot packs. Nowadays hot packs we have a micro oven hot pack or a wax therapy. Then sorry, micro oven hot pack also will be used nowadays. Not only water, sometimes we use micro oven hot packs also. Then other thing is like wax therapy. Then you are having high frequency, low frequency, and medium frequency. So all these equipments again depends on like either you can fix it or you just move into the cubicle and you give the treatment. Then you need to have a traction unit, then full pack, then full pack. So depends, in case if you're going to have a very big setup, then you can have separate cubicle for each equipment. If you don't have a very big setup, if it is a moderate size, then uh, at least you should have 3 to 4, and in one you will be fixing the tens, one in another you will be fixing shortwave or high frequency equipment you will keep it. And this high frequency and low frequency equipment need to be kept in a separate need to be kept in a distance, because it will be having interference with each other. So what you can do is like, if you cannot have 3 cubicles side by side like how we have in the lab. We should not have like that, because if we have like that, if one patient we are treating giving shortwave, another person if we are treating with any other low frequency, then they will have interference. So that's why the cubicle should be little bit apart. So what you can do is you can just have 3 cubicle in the middle. You can have any manual therapy cubicle. So it will be separating the cubicles apart. So all these things you have to keep in mind. Okay, so as I said, the equipment have to range from simple equipment to a bigger equipment, because rehabilitation means you will be using all the equipments. And not only that, you need to see to that the stairs, whether you have hand railings through in the complete area, or a complete gymnastic area, or in the cubicle. So most of the rehabilitation center, they will be having hand railing in all the sides of the wall, so that the patient will be able to hold it and will be able to walk. So you have to see all the simple, small things when you are setting up. Then, later classes, we will be reading some more environmental equipments or adaptations. So all those things also you can mingle when you incorporate in this particular chapter. So those are about the infrastructure about our gymnasium and the electrotherapy. Next comes the reception area and the waiting area. So here again depends on keeping in mind how many people will be coming to the department. Uh, you have to arrange accordingly. Okay, then next is like you have to have this reception area. Again it will be it will be like, when the patient enters they should have a waiting area. Then you will be having a reception area. Then after that only inside you will be having all the gymnasium and other areas. So you have to keep this in mind, because if you don't have the waiting area in front, then the family members or the caregivers will be accommodating the people inside, and they will be watching other people's exercise, and they will be it will be disturbing the other patients. So you need to keep a waiting area outside so that they don't disturb the other people. Then, if you plan for a research based rehabilitation unit, then you can have a separate area for that, where you can have a diagnostic and research area. So in that area you will be able to bring the patient. You can ask for the questionnaires, or you can do a survey, or you can do the testing. Everything you will be able to do in that diagnostic and research area. Then the hydrotherapy area. So most of the time, having this hydrotherapy is not an easy thing, because we need to follow many steps. You need to you need to check the maintaining the hydrotherapy is not a simple one. So most of the even you can take we have a hydrotherapy pool in our SP hospital, but most of the time they are not using that particular pool. So having a hydrotherapy is a bigger task. So you can decide whether you need to have a hydrotherapy or not. So these are the physical structures. Next comes the human resources. So the human resources also, every country has a particular guidelines for maintaining, or uh, for actually it is like human resources. It is like the government will have a lot of guidelines that we need to follow, and those guidelines are to benefit the uh, employers, so employees. Okay, so we'll just stop here for a while, maybe 5 minutes, then we will continue the class. Okay, so time is 2:55. We will start at 3 o'clock again. Don't go out. Okay, just stay. Maybe you can get up and walk around and come back if you feel sleepy. So next, regarding the human resources, so the government will be having a guidelines for this human resources. Apart from that, like we also can have a justification that how we are going to use the particular person in the rehabilitation. So this is the basic guidelines whichever the government has given, but according to the situation and according to the workload, we need to increase or we can decrease the things. So if you are expecting a 50 patients per day, or if you want to see 50 persons, give rehabilitation for 50 persons, and if they need to work for 6 hours a day, excluding the lunch hours and the break. Okay, so if you include the lunch hour and the break, then it will be around 8 to 9 hours of working. Normally 8 hours of working is the practice in Malaysia. So when you have 8 hours of work, then you will have 1 hour of lunch break, then half an hour break in the morning and half an hour break in the afternoon. So that is a complete thing for 8 hours. So in this, if they are working for 6 hours, and if they need to, yeah, if you are thinking that you will be getting around 50 patients, then you need to have one senior therapist, 3 to 4 junior therapists, then one or two receptionists and one helpers. So this is the minimum requirement you want. But according to the need of the patient, sometimes some patients will be having special needs, and according to that you can recruit the other people also. Then about the job description. So again, this job description is mainly given by MQA. In case of academic and non-academic also, they have given set of rules. Apart from that, like our Malaysian Physiotherapy Association also will be giving them some guidelines for the job description. So if a person, or if you need to recruit a senior physiotherapist, then he should be graduated from a physiotherapy school. Graduated in sense he should have a degree from a physiotherapy school which is recognized by either MPA or by MPA. Okay, and he should have minimum 5 years of clinical experience, excluding the inclusive of at least 2 years of supervisory or administrative experience. So minimum 5 years of clinical experience should be there, along with 2 years of administrative experience. Then the job responsibility will be he has to take care of the complete setup. So that means the whole clinical setup will be under his control, and he should be controlling the whole setup. Then he should answer to the institutional head or the owner or CEO regarding the working of the whole setup. Then he has to responsible for the daily day-to-day activities of the clinical of the department. Then he should be responsible for the staffing, and he should be like answering the he should be coordinating the junior therapist and the other receptionist and other people, and he has to give instruction to them. He has to get the work done, and he has to control them. He has to lead those people. And in case if they have any training internship students or training therapists, so he has to be responsible for them also. So apart from that, he should be able to do the patient assessment, then treatment and education. In case if any junior therapist is not there, and he is supposed to do the assessment, treatment and the education. And he is responsible to encourage or motivate the staff to undertake any continuous professional development programs, or like attend any webinars or seminars. All those things he has to encourage their people. Okay, and he also should get engaged in the research. So this is a sample JD for the particular person. So like this, like you have to add on what are the things you will be that particular person have to do. So this is the basic things they are supposed to do it. Then the junior therapist means, so they also have to be graduated from the physiotherapy school which is recognized by MPA or MQA, and they will be responsible for the clinical duties assigned by the head. So they will be having a control above them. So they will be answering to the particular senior therapist. Then they have to maintain the day-to-day records, and they have to again train the junior or train the students if they have any. So these are the two people. Basically, they will be recruiting, and that's why we are just concerned about only the physiotherapist. Then the receptionist helper depends on them. Same way, you can form a JD and you have to give them. So this JD has to be given to them when you are recruiting the particular staff. So they will be looking after the JD. Then they will see whether they will be able to do all those works or not. So that's about the workload. Then about the staffing, so how you want to appoint the particular person. So this is according to the for this, if you see, you have to check with the Malaysian rules, as well as you have to see the good practices. Like you have lot of rule books in Malaysia, so you have to go through that before recruiting a particular person. So we have a lot of control by the government. So the government has given a lot of guidelines, and they are supposed to follow the guidelines. So uh, this is like Malaysian Physiotherapy Association has instructed that, so if any people are going to do a physiotherapy service, they are supposed to be a member of that particular association. But anyways, uh, they have not given a very compulsion, but still we may get a uh, order from them to definitely be a member of this MPA. Then so according to the government and according to the MPA, we have certain code of ethics to recruit a particular person. So first thing, as I said early, we are supposed to give them a job description. So they will be looking the job description, and once they think that they will be able to do all those things, then they will be signing and they will be returning the offer letter. Okay, so sometimes if they have any issues with the job description, they may negotiate also. And some people, whenever they are coming to work, we need to give them the training according to the job description. Training means, even though if they are a physiotherapist, sometimes they may not be aware of certain rules and regulations. So we need to give them the training for at least a little time. So the training can be like observation, or the training can be like sitting and giving them instruction one to one. Okay, then you have to make them to orient to the place and the environment and the practice procedure. Then only you have to allow them to work independently. So that means initially when you recruit them, you have to give them the JD. You have to make sure they understand the JD and sign and give you back. So in case according to the JD, if they need any training, you can give them the training. You can make them to observe certain things, or the things that is going on in the center. Then you can allow them to work. So initially you need to monitor them. Later you will be able to allow them to work independently. Then, so for if you are running a rehabilitation center, definitely you need to give a continuous medical professional development courses for your workers. Why? Because the anybody who has completed the education definitely should have a continuous development. You cannot just keep the same knowledge and just run throughout your life. So you have to keep uh, going towards the continuous professional development. Okay, so this is one thing. Then so we need to encourage them to definitely attend, and you have to you can give them the motivation to attend, one thing. Then you can give them the monetary benefits, so that when they attend the particular seminar, you can sponsor them for a training, or sponsor them for a seminars and other thing. So then you have to make them to get involved in the research and evidence based practice. So since ours is a hands-on skill, you need to have a evidence-based practice, so which is very very important. So throughout the career, they are supposed to be in a growth phase. So they should not be in a stagnant one. They have to be in a growth phase, so that they will be able to continue their improve their techniques and improve their knowledge. So they can improve their personal development through CME programs, workshops, lectures, clinical meeting. You can have case presentations, you can have journal presentation, you can have a group discussion once in a week, like that. So through all those things, they will be able to develop themselves. Next is regarding the funding or the budget. So the budget and funding again depends on the area you are based on, the type of practices you have included, and number of beds. So this estimation is again based on all these things. Then once you are going to start the department, you have to go for something called capital cost. So you need to be ready to manage with the capital cost. But nowadays there's a lot of source of fund like bank loans, financial institution or donations. So a lot of source of finance is there. So you can look for it, and you have to get prepared for the capital cost. Then after starting, that is the first capital cost, then you will be having something recurrent expenditure. So recurrent expenditures will be like salaries, wages, equipment maintenance, then regular consumable products you have to buy. All those products you are supposed to get it. So all these are recurring ones. So every month you need to spend certain things. So you have to be ready for that. Maybe initially, immediately you will not be able to gain anything. So you need to be ready for the recurring expenditure. At least for 6 months or 1 year, you need to be ready for the recurring expenditures. Then you need to maintain a financial record, so that you can plan for the future. If you don't maintain, then you will not be able to plan for your future. You will not be able to develop properly. The next is regarding the fees. So we cannot fix the fees just like that. So it is not our individual one. So again, for this also they have certain criteria, and the government has set up certain rules. So the first is the time devoted to the consultation, or you cannot just see the patient for 2 minutes then charge some 100 ringgits. So they will be like the charges according to the time you are spending with the patient, then the complexity of the service you are going to give. So if you are just giving a simple one, just giving simple one like give a dumbbell and make them to do the exercises, so for that you will not be able to charge more. So depends on the complexity of services, the charges will be different. Then depends on the specific equipment needed. So if they need a very if they need a if they need certain equipment, sometimes you need to purchase the equipment from abroad. So those things you have to be very careful. So those things you will be able to charge more. Then where you are going to deliver the service. So if it is home based, then according to that you will be charging. If the people are going to come to your center, then accordingly you will be charging lesser. So based on that you can charge. Then when it took place, like where, like whether it is like a weekend or whether it is after the working hour, whether it is whether it is like in the night time, like that. So depending on that you can fix the fees. Then you have to calculate the fee in a uniform manner. You cannot just charge, okay, for this people this name this much, not like that. So you should have a proper calculation, so that the other person also will be knowing it. That means the customer also should know, if I go in this particular hour the charge will be little higher, if I go on the weekends the charge will be higher. So they should also know these things, so that they accordingly they come to your visit your center. So you cannot just charge as they come in. So you should have a proper uniform calculation of the fees. Then area where the clinic located. Sometimes the areas like you cannot have, like Penang will be having little higher charge compared to SP, isn't it? So KL will be having definitely having a little lower charge compared to Penang. So all these are because of the locality, because of the competition they have. If they have too many rehabilitation centers, then automatically the charges will be little lesser. So if they have one and only rehabilitation center, then there are no competition, so the charges will be little higher. So depending on all these things, you will be able to fix the fees. Next is you need to definitely document the things. So you cannot just leave it, you have to document properly. Maybe you can document paper based or you can document in the electronic based system. So electronic based system is like computer and other things. So paper based is in a diary or handwritten to the list and the documents and other things. So nowadays we have lot of uh, uh, app app facilities for documenting all these process, but that particular app will be very little bit expensive according to your need. Okay, like how we are having Barracuda, so same like that you will be having different softwares which will be charged according to your facility and according to your need. Okay, so this is the document then. So this is about the rough idea how to set up a clinic. Okay, then in case if you have a multidisciplinary team, then accordingly the setup have to be little more expanded. So first you have to see whether the rehabilitation service is provided inpatient or outpatient or only outpatient. So according to that you can decide. Then whether many consultants will be going to come to the particular center, and whether they are going to see the patient, or you are going to have a video conferencing type of rehabilitation, or you are going to have a phone call session, and you will be getting the advice from those other people. So depending on all these things you have to you have to design the unit. Okay. Next is the assessment and admission. So when a person is coming to you for the rehabilitation, the first thing is you have to check for their expectation. So what is their expectation? So how much they are expecting for the improvement, functional improvement. So a paraplegic patient, the attender should not have a mindset that the patient will be, after the rehabilitation, the patient will be getting up and he will be running in 1 month, isn't it? So you have to see what is their expectation of improvement. So that expectation should be reasonable. Okay, so then prior to the commencement of the rehabilitation, you have to do a comprehensive assessment and you have to document it, because this is because otherwise later we will be ending up with lot of court summons and other thing. So if you have a proper documentation of assessment, then you will be able to defend yourself. So this is very important. So you have to comprehensively do a assessment, and not only that, you have to document all the things. Then when you are documenting all those things, you have to do the assessment using a appropriate outcome measures, and you have to tell them what is their functional ability. Okay, so they will be having a prior to the rehabilitation, they will know what were their eligibility and what were the ability and how much they will be able to improve. So all those things they will be knowing it. Then you can set up the goals for them. Okay, so first assess them with proper outcome measures. You have to use a standard outcome measure. According to that, you have to do the assessment. Then you have to document it. So when you're documenting, you should have a proper rehabilitation plan. So in the plan, you have to state clearly what is your goals. So what is your multidisciplinary goals, and in that, by reaching the multidisciplinary goals, how much functional gain the patient will be having. Okay, and for to reach those things, how long it will take, and how long it will, like how long he has to be in the admitted in the hospital, how long, and then afterwards how he will be discharged. All those things you have to have in the plan. So all these things, not only documenting, you have to explain that to the particular family member who is responsible. Okay, so explain to the particular family member who is responsible. Then after explaining, you have to explain them. So educate them. So not only just explaining, they should be aware of the things, because nowadays these people will go and search in Google, then they will compare and they will come and fight with you. So you need to give a clear picture, so that even in the Google also they will not be able to, they will be getting the same information. So if they are giving a different information, they will not have trust on you. So you have to see all those things. Okay, so properly you have to record, and maybe you can also get the informed consent with the patient and the attender. So that is very important. So that is about assessing and admitting in the patient. Then after admitting the patient, so there is some protocol for making the person to discharge. So it is not that simply you in a day, in the morning you come and you say okay, it's all right, you go back. So you can't say that. So you should have a proper plan for getting discharged. So if you have achieved this, then you will be discharged. If you achieve this one, then you will be discharged. If you don't achieve, then you have to continue. So like that, you should have a proper planning. So that is the discharge planning. So those discharge planning also you can explain to the patient and the patient attender, so that roughly they can calculate how much they want to stay and how long they want to stay with you. Then copy of the discharge plan should be sent to the properly referred person. So rehabilitation directly they will not come to you. They may be coming to you after getting a proper referral from any doctors or anybody. So you need to send the discharge plan, so that the person who has referred to you knows what is the improvement of that particular patient. Okay, so when you are sending the discharge plan, you have to put whatever was there in the admission time. Then slowly you have to give what is there in the discharge. So in the discharge, how much they have improved and how much function they have achieved. So all these things you have to include in that. So you can either give a hard copy or a soft copy, but you should have a medical record of the hard copy or the soft copy, so that it is there for you for your later support. So this is about your rehabilitation. Okay, so complete the rehabilitation, setting up of the rehabilitation unit. So now, what is this home-based rehabilitation? So home-based rehabilitation is like mainly there will be like since there is more number of older persons in the society, many will be having like many need to be taken care properly. So so these people, you need to visit their house, then you have to assess them in their surroundings, according to their surroundings. Then you have to give the training and the needed things at home. So according to the household availability, you will be giving them the training and you will be giving them the rehabilitation. So that is your home based rehabilitation. Okay, so sometimes in some of the rehabilitation center, they will be having this home-based rehabilitation also integrated. That means after getting the rehabilitation, then for 1 week or 2 weeks, they will be taking them to this home-based rehabilitation, where they will be having a setup same like their patient setup. So they will be having a apartment kind of house. They will be having an individual kind of house. They will be having a very smaller house, bigger house, like that. Lot of houses will be there where they will be taking the patient and giving the treatment. So when they are taking them, they will be checking what type of house the particular person has. So for example, if the patient is living in an apartment, then they will be taking the person to that particular apartment kind of setup. Then there they will be giving the treatment. Okay, so some of the centers or some of the rehabilitation centers will be having this kind of facility. Okay, but people who don't have this kind of facility need to go to the home and have to give all those things. So that is called home-based rehabilitation. So any doubt? If there is no doubt, then you just stay for 5 minutes. After 5 minutes, then we can have a tutorial session for whatever so far topics. Then we will end today's session. Okay. So stay in line. Okay. So can we start? Are you all are there? Can we start?
Yes, miss.
Okay. See, this rehabilitation subject. Uh, Most of the time it is possible to get a direct question, so that's why in the tutorials I have given the direct questions, but in exam okay, so in tutorials it is given direct questions, so that you will be able to read all the topics. Okay, but in exam the question will be a little bit based on the case scenario only, it will not be direct. Like case scenario means so it will not be from a single topic, so uh, it will be including many of the topics. So for example, they may say that a particular 90-year-old man has undergone a fracture, and he underwent THR replacement, THR surgery. Then after getting recovered, he has got discharged and he has come to home. So what are the adaptations you will be making for him in his apartment? So this is one question. The next question is, like, how do you give home based rehabilitation to this particular person? Okay, so then like, what are the other rehabilitation team members they will be getting involved in this particular for this particular patient? Okay, so if you see that the question will not be just ending in with one particular topic, it will be covering almost lot of the other topic also. So they will be giving one particular case scenario, and according to the case scenario, you will be having 3 or 4 questions, which will be from all the topics, all the topics, but it will not be like from your out of question. Okay, so it will be definitely from your portion. So another example I can give us, like, a 30-year-old software engineer underwent a road traffic accident, and because of the infection, they have to do a below knee amputation for him. Okay, so the explain the institutional based rehabilitation for him. So what are the institutional based rehabilitation we will be giving to that particular person? Okay, then choose a proper processes for him. What are the criteria you will be looking whenever you are choosing a processes for this particular patient? Then how you will be giving gait training to this particular person? Okay, so give a brief outline of endoskeletal processes. How you will be maintaining the processes. So these are some of the example questions you may ask. Then after that, like, how you will be rehabilitating the persons to his office. Okay, so what are the criterias, or what are the adaptations that has to be taken care in his office setup? Okay, so these topics are like this extra adaptations and all we have not seen. We will be seeing in the later classes. Okay, so these kind of questions only will be coming. So you cannot just go with a single chapter questions. Uh, you have to uh, you have to analyze the case scenario, and you will be able to you have to answer the questions. Then you cannot leave any particular chapter without learning. If you leave any particular chapter without learning, then you may not be able to explain, you may not be answer the complete question. You have to leave certain step questions. Exactly, so it will be like a combined question. So far we have seen introduction chapter, then rehabilitation team, then organizing like rehabilitation unit, then we have seen orthosis and processes. So these are the topics it will be coming covered in your mid semester. So for your mid semester, the question will be something like a case scenario related to processes or orthosis. Then according to the case scenario, what type of processes you have to choose and why you are choosing that particular processes. Okay, so you will be getting questions like this, or like you can also get questions like after a particular problem, who like what are like after a particular problem, like for example a patient has undergone a road traffic accident, and because of that he had a spinal cord injury, and he has undergone the medical treatment, and now he has come out of the acute stage, and he is in the rehabilitation stage. So for this particular patient, what are the who are the team members getting involved, and uh, what are their role? Okay, so for this particular spinal cord injury person, who were the, like, who and all will be getting involved, as a team members and what is their role. So that only we have discussed in the last class. I think we discussed in the last class, right? So like this kind of questions only you can expect in your mid semester. So apart from that, from the 5 chapters, you will be having 20 MCQs. Okay, so 20 MCQs, sometimes you will be getting direct MCQs, sometimes you will be having case scenario kind of MCQs. So SEQs, you will be having 3 SEQ. So 3 SEQ will be like 3 SEQ will be 2 definitely will be a, case scenario type of SEQ. Maybe one will be a direct essay, a direct question. So direct questions will be like explain briefly what are the infrastructures you have to have when you are starting a rehabilitation center. Explain what are the guidelines given by the government for institutional based rehabilitation. So like this kind of questions you will be getting directly. See, all these are, I'm not giving you the questions. I'm going to prepare the question paper now and after this only. That clear? So don't think that this is the questions and don't read only that particular chapter. Okay. So this is all like sample questions. How we will be normally taking the how usually we will be taking the questions. Is that clear? So start preparing for your mid semester. Uh, you can share, like we will be giving you the you will be having your mid semester before your break. Okay, because R6 will be going for their clinical placement, so you have to have your mid semester before your break. The mid semester is not after your break. Keep in mind the mid semester will be before your break. So now, any doubts?
No, miss.
Mid semester will be in between, that is like from June 14 to June 18. I don't know the exact date. Uh, probably between June 14 to June 18. According to this particular subject, we are in the 5th week. So I need to take one more topic to cover up the 5th week portions. Okay, so we will take it on Thursday. So any other doubt you have? Any other doubt you have? If no doubt, then we can end the session. I think only last 2 classes I have to upload in LMS. I will do now. Okay, so hope you all have downloaded the book. Please read the book. So if no other doubt, can we end the session? Okay, okay, thank you.